hastily Ziemelis, 365 Hawaii and Real Broker, and I am here today with Amber Haley, who's also with Real Broker, and we will be obviously doing a Zoom for the East Hawaii real estate market update. And Amber, is this the first time we've done this on a Zoom in like 2.5 years?
I think so. I think for the East Hawaii specific one, I think it might be the first time.
Yeah,
You did come over here fairly
I did.
recently, and then I'm usually over there.
Yeah.
But life happened today, so we're still doing this, but
Yep.
it's
Yep.
going to be virtually, the two
Yep,
of us.
so we actually have our friends supporters who have joined us, and anybody else who's coming in. I did promote this on the 365 group, which you can be part of if you join our Ohana at the 365living.com. So let's see what's going on with East Hawaii, and maybe we'll chit chat a little bit about what's happening in East Hawaii as well. So what's going on?
Okay, so I'm excited to give the stats this month. I feel like because we usually do it a week earlier, I've just been like antsy to get them out. So we are going to talk about the numbers first, maybe, and then maybe talk a little bit about what's been going on in East Hawaii and then what I've seen with some of my real estate clients and transactions.
Okay.
So let's start with, well, we're going to talk about two districts. So the South Hilo district and the Puna district. And that is where Puna is actually where most of the sales take place. It's where most of the buyers and sellers that I meet with are usually shopping around. There's just more real estate transactions in Puna. So maybe we'll start there today. All right. So in Puna, we have a variety of different lava zones, right? That can affect our prices. And because of that, that's primarily the main reason. It's one of the most affordable parts of the Big Island to live on. And you can still find property in Puna that's in Lava Zone 3 where you're not as affected by the lava hazard. But keep in mind that these stats include the entire Puna district, and we're going to be focusing on the last full month of sales for single family homes, because that's primarily what we have in Puna. And so we'll jump into the numbers for May of this year. And so the median sales price for the Puna district, single family home again, was $365,000. And that is actually up from where we were at a year ago, where it was $345,000. And when I look at the year-to-date sales for the Puna district, so I can kind of, help guide our listeners to if we're going to go in this direction or which way we're going. Year-to-date, the median is at 360, but for the last full month of sales we have, it was at 365. So we are kind of in a slightly upward trend with that. And give me 1 second. I have too many screens open on my computer.
Yeah,
There we
usually you're
go.
sitting there with a piece of paper right in front of you.
Yeah. Now I'm in front of my giant computer monitor where I have it's like a space command central, which is so many stats to share with you guys. So,
Well, and hopefully, for our people over in YouTube land who might see this later, if you shoot me over some of those numbers, Eric can put some graphics up on the video. So as you're talking about it, he can throw some numbers up so people can see them too.
oh,
Oh,
yeah. It is great. It is
fancy,
great.
fancy. It's all about animation nowadays.
Isn't it? Okay. So back in the Puna district, one thing that I'm noticing with buyers, and
Mhm.
and it's going to affect everybody really on all of the islands, is more and more insurance providers pulling out of
Yep.
issuing policies. So that if you are looking in the Puna district, especially if you're looking at some of these homes like in the lower price points, especially in a riskier lava zone, that is like something to keep in mind. Even some of the very, very recent like insurance providers that I've referred to my clients over and over again. I had a client just get back to me in the last 48 hours saying, "Oh, they can't issue a policy." And that was for a Lava Zone 3 property. So that
Ooh.
is something that I am seeing in the Puna district, although I do know that is probably a problem that is going to be seen kind of island wide.
Yeah. But are
But
they do you think that's because not just because of the lava zone, do you think it's because of hurricanes too?
I think it's the effect of, the Lahaina
Behind.
wildfires and yes, hurricanes and just the cost everywhere, probably even on like a national level of insurance because of
Yeah.
natural disasters and things like that.
Yeah.
But yes, it is probably, if you, especially if you're looking in Puna, something to keep in mind. And I would encourage you to like reach out to insurance providers earlier
Yeah.
in the home search process just to do your due diligence.
But
But yes, there is still an active real estate market. And in fact, the entire last month of single family home sales, there were 73 that sold in the Puna district. And if we compare that to the month before, it's just a little bit down from 79. So a little bit less sales in May than the month before, but in the same ballpark. And the average days on market, you guys, is 90 days
Mhm.
for those homes that sold. That's
They're
that's a lot of days.
That's a lot of days. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of the slower market here in Kona too. And I think, it's interesting because I have been getting quite a few phone calls of people saying they want to live in East Hawaii because it's so expensive in West Hawaii. But everyone's still in this like, yeah, I'll get there when I get there kind of feeling. So it looks like that's kind of causing people just to kind of have a slower approach to the market than they did before. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a lot of buyers who have looked at property and then kind of decided to hold on if they have the luxury of not purchasing right away, of kind of holding off and
Mhm.
renting for a little while, which sometimes isn't a bad idea if you're new to the Big Island anyway, just to make sure it's a good fit for you.
Mhm.
But yeah, I have seen a lot of that. And then obviously mortgage rates really affect
Yeah.
people. And so yeah, 90 days though, that is the highest number that I can remember in a long, maybe since we've been doing these market updates.
Wow.
Uh to my memory. We've been doing these for like over 2 years now, but
Yeah. Yeah.
90 is a lot. And to put
Yeah.
that in comparison, the previous month was
Yeah.
68 days
Okay.
on market.
Oh, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
there seems to be kind of like with the market right now. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this is what the Fed wanted to see happen.
Yeah. So the list of sales price for Puna was 95%. And that's a little bit up
Yeah.
from the month previous. So month previous was almost 93%. So now it's get a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Um, that $365,000. I did want to talk a little bit about one of the neighborhoods in Puna
Yeah.
that I do the most sales on because it's such a large subdivision. And if you listen to a lot of our market updates, you probably know the neighborhood. It's called Hawaiian Paradise Park, and Julie and I have driven around Hawaiian Paradise Park together, and there's a video on YouTube of us doing that you guys should all check out. But one of the interesting things that I noticed for the first time today too, this is another first for East Hawaii, when I was looking at the latest listings, is that Hawaiian Paradise Park, while the lowest home or property is listed at $175,000 and it's unpermitted, by the way, folks. So it's essentially land, really cash only. So I call it a single family home loosely. There are 5 properties on the market in Hawaiian Paradise Park that are over $1 million right now, which I
Wow.
don't think I've ever seen that number of listings. So there
So
are
what do
a
you think?
lot of
Do you
different
think
types of houses.
are these people who were living next to the ocean and they just
Mm.
lost their insurance policy and they're selling
It,
the house?
I mean, it might be. I don't know if it's all insurance or if people are looking down the road at the rental laws changing, but
Oh, yeah.
most of the properties that you're going to find at that high of a price point in East Hawaii, especially in Hawaiian Paradise Park, are going to be like more of the toward the ocean,
Mm.
oceanfront properties that have maybe some of them short-term vacation rental licenses. Some of them are just very popular, hosted rentals, very nice homes, but this is not a neighborhood that has seen a lot of $1 million
Yeah.
listings,
Yeah.
and to have that many is pretty mind-blowing.
Wow.
So
Wow. Well,
yeah.
and also weird thing is, and let's remember this because when Lance and I do this, well, let's remember this because when those houses sell, they are going to raise the median price of the entire neighborhood up, which is kind of like not fair because that's not the general house that you normally find. But then all of a sudden, if five $1 million houses sale, then everyone's going to think that the average price in that neighborhood is like $600,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Some of us watch this every month. Let's remember what's going on here. So, you
Yeah,
know,
if you're a seasoned real estate buyer, you do know that the price, if your neighbor's house sells, that affects the price of your home.
mhm.
And yeah, so well, I'm going to keep an eye on and see when some of these go under contract and when they close and
Yeah.
what they close for. I'll be really, really interested. But just for our audience, so we talked about how in this district of the island, Puna, the median was 365,000 for Hawaiian Paradise Park for active listings right now. Today, the median price is 579,000.
I was almost
So
right.
yeah. So it is higher. And again, the lowest is $179,000 unpermitted home. And the highest right now is 1.689 million.
That's
So
insanity.
yeah. Yeah. So if you're looking for like a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, newer construction home, that's going to be closer to the median price that we're seeing in Hawaiian Paradise Park. There is quite a range, and I look at a lot of the new construction homes. And so kind of based on like how, customized some of the finishes are and all of that. And if it's a 3-bedroom versus a 4-bedroom, the prices that I see kind of range from like upper fours to yeah, oh, gosh, sevens, even some eights. There's even some listings in the 900,000s in HPP right now. So, but you can get a newer construction still for, about $500,000 in Hawaiian Paradise Park, Lava Zone 3, a nice one.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Hey, and also, in terms of some of those homes that are older, how much are those going for?
Oh, like an older home.
Like a
Okay,
grade two
so
older home, not brand new construction.
it really really depends, but like I'm pulling one up right now that's on 11th Avenue in HPP. It's a 3-bedroom home. It was built in 2016. It's off the grid. It's listed for 322,000. It's not like your traditional like house. It's a little bit, quirky. There is a 2-bedroom house on the market in HPP that was built in 2001. It's just over 1,000 square feet, so a smaller home. It looks more like the homes that I see in Hilo.
Mhm.
That one's listed for 379,000.
Hmm.
Let's see. There are some that are not quite brand new that are on the higher end too. So let's see. For example, there is one on 22nd Avenue built in 2013. And it's a very nice 4-bedroom house that's listed for $925,000.
Hmm.
It's a very nice house, but it's been on the market for about 3.5 months. It's a high price point
It's a high.
um, for the neighborhood, especially not being like right on the water. But there really, really is a range. So you can get something in the 300,000s, and you can get something for over 1 million too.
Yeah.
That's in the
Hey, so then
market
let
for
me ask
that.
you another question then, because I did have a guy who has about $360,000 to spend, and he wants to be able to get a house that he can use as like 6 months here, 6 months someplace else experience. Not a big fan of the acre, however. Um,
Ah.
yeah, I said an HPP, everything's on an acre land, right?
For the
But
most part.
yeah, for the
Not
most part,
all,
right?
but for the
Not
most
all.
part.
Okay, okay. Does mature and easy landscaping part of the mix on like if somebody has fruit trees and the whole thing, is that actually affecting the price of a house, or is it just literally how good the structure is and it's a 4-bedroom, this may, I mean, because if I could buy a house that already had all the landscaping done and had the fruit trees, right?
Hmm.
Versus now I've got to do it all myself, and I could like, just send somebody over with, just to clear up the weeds every now and then. Of course, there's a different a butt for every seat. Some people want the mature landscaping and some don't care. But I'm just wondering, does there value to the house or the ones that have the older landscaping that has everything already done? And HB,
Now, so I would say overall, I don't think that the landscaping, and this is just generally overall, makes a huge difference on price point. I have found most buyers are willing to compromise on landscaping and having the mature fruit trees for the right house and for the right price.
okay.
The main reason I say that I don't see it majorly affecting value is because when you get an appraisal of a property like that, it's really hard to get like an appraiser to increase the value. And I know this from like personal experience on a property where a lot of money or time has gone into the landscaping, it's not usually weighed very heavily by most appraisers. And for example, I do know, and this isn't a very recent example, but one that I've seen in my career in East Hawaii, where the homeowners had spent over like six figures, I think, on very, very elaborate landscaping. And
Yeah.
I think they got an appraiser to maybe, give it $30,000 or $40,000 in upping so it's hard to say because it's all kind of subjective. And all kind of based on what somebody will pay for that, but we also are a little bit subject to like what really a market value is on a property, right? Because a lot of people do finance, and so we do have to look at market value and appraisal value and all of that. So I wouldn't say it like hugely affects it.
Because you would think
And
the value would be nice if you wanted to have mature landscaping. It was already fruiting trees on your land.
yeah,
But
yeah.
okay, so it sounds like it really doesn't matter. So
And there are a lot of buyers, believe it or not, who are on both ends of the spectrum of that. There are a lot of buyers in neighborhoods like HPP that actually would prefer like a pretty
clean
cleared,
slate.
low maintenance lot.
Mhm.
And then there are buyers who that's like their nightmare, and they're compromising if they buy a property like that. I would say in some of the more rural neighborhoods like Hawaiian Acres or Orchid Land, properties maybe being marketed and priced up for that type of thing, or like if they have kind of like a homestead or sustainable little micro farm or something like that, because that really speaks to a certain type of buyer. A lot of those properties end up being cash only sales anyway. So it can, but I will say overall, I don't see like landscaping adding like a huge ROI to like actual market value of the homes in Hawaiian Paradise Park,
Okay.
if that
Good
makes
info.
sense.
Good info.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's not quite on the same level, but what I will tell people also about East Hawaii, which I think is different than some of the property that's like, more of like the luxury homes on the Kona side. One of the worst investments you can make from a ROI standpoint in East Hawaii is like a pool, which a
Oh,
lot of people, who are newer to Hawaii are say, we want a pool. Um, Very rarely do you see in-ground pools in East Hawaii because they're very expensive to put in. And, like we're on an active volcano here.
oh,
Uh,
it's, yeah. We got a lot of volcano. I mean, there's especially lately too with the earthquakes,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So, and for those of you who don't know, most of the Puna district is located on one of the world's most active volcanoes and was active for at least like 6 hours this month.
12, 12.
12.
12
Yes, I
hours.
forgot I'm with a volcano reporter over there. Me and Eric have some great content on YouTube that you guys should all binge with their volcano reporting, eruption reporting. But yeah, so things like pools, like they're a bad ROI in East Hawaii. I hate to break it to people. Most people end up putting in like above ground pools that you can make look, kind of nicer and build a deck up around. But those also don't add like great value to homes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a mix. I don't know if that was the answer people were looking for or not about
Okay,
the
let
landscape.
me okay, because again, I spent like 40 minutes talking to this guy about East Hawaii today. And he just is like, also, I know there's rain. And I'm like, oh, no, I think it's more than just there's rain. But I think also if you are in the rain, you're probably not using your pool too often either. I think if it's hot, like it is in West Hawaii, where you're going to be baking, use your pool. Even people at elevation here don't have a lot of pools because the water's cold. Is that some level of like what happens over there? I know that you guys still have like, 80-degree days and stuff, but do you think also because it rains a lot that people don't swim in swimming pools in East Hawaii?
You know, It does rain a lot, but in the Puna district, it does rain. I mean, depending on where, I could pull up the average rainfall map, but I would say it rains less than like the Hilo district for sure.
Okay.
And we
It also
definitely
doesn't
are
have
not as
pools.
hot. Yes, yes. Also, pools are not a good ROI there either. We also are not as hot. So if you're at the same like sea level, basically, or elevation over in a neighborhood like Hawaiian Paradise Park as you would be, where you're at in East Hawaii. So even in Kona town, like right on the water, it is significantly hotter in Kona. So I
Mhm.
think there might be something to it. I don't know if it's even like even if rain was not a factor, just our temperatures aren't quite as extreme
Yeah.
with the heat at the same elevation, which is great for usually like electric bills for
Yeah.
people. I think at the same elevation in East Hawaii, they're not having to run AC necessarily all
Yeah,
the
as much as
time.
you have to do in Kona. Yeah,
Like
definitely.
yeah, like you'd have to do in Kona. But yeah, I don't think the pools, get used as much as they do in West Hawaii.
Okay.
So there is a lot of microclimates so all over the island, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just not as common of a thing. But
It's
again,
so,
I don't have a pool, but
okay. So for 2.5 years, you and I have talked about East Hawaii. We've talked about this part. Yeah, the thing. You and I have never talked about pools in East
I
Hawaii.
know. No.
Which means there probably isn't a lot of pools in East Hawaii to talk about.
There's not a lot of pools, but I will say it's a heavily requested um feature of a home from people who are relocating and don't know the market super
Yeah.
well. And then they're usually pretty disappointed to hear that their best option is an above ground pool. So maybe we should make a video
Yeah.
just on pools
Well, and I
and
think
give
it's
people all the stats.
yeah, and I think people in general, again, this guy, he doesn't. I said he didn't even realize how big the island was. I said it's as big as the state of Connecticut. He's like, what? But the concept of people thinking they're moving to Hawaii that normally means floating in your pool all day with a mai tai.
Yeah.
So when you're like, oh, what do you mean you don't have pools in Hawaii? It's like, well, this is the story that there's certain neighborhoods that, there's leeward and windward sides of the island, which create the temperature experience. So yeah, so maybe we can even do a whole video on pools in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah, I can try and get some like quotes and people can really see um what the reality of it is like. We'll just be crushing more dreams. It's also when you get your bubble burst about how on the Big Island you're not going to find a location where you have the lush green with the waterfall in the background with the calm sandy gold beach with the calm ocean where you can be like those don't exist on the same side of the island. um
Damn
you
all
know
those paintings of Hawaii.
yeah. That might maybe be like more on Maui. You can get
Yeah,
maybe
I
more
think
of
in
the two combined,
Oahu,
but
I don't know. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, you're not. And people say that they too. They go, where's the closest waterfall in Kona? I'm like, that would be East Hawaii.
Yeah. East Hawaii, we have great waterfalls. If now we're gonna transition in a moment to talking about Hilo. And Hilo, in
Yeah,
fact, has one of the
has
most
they
convenient
have waterfalls.
waterfalls. You can just drive up in town to Rainbow Falls, which is stunning.
Yeah, yeah, and also the so you got Rainbow and also the other one, Boiling Pots.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and then if you go up like toward Hamakua, you can go to Akaka Falls if you're heading up that way, and that's a stunning one. Yeah, we got waterfalls, just not you're not going to get your waterfall, your green plus the calm water and the gold sandy beach all in one shot. But you know what? We can't. Nobody can have it all. Okay, so that's the Puna district for this month. Should we talk about Hilo?
Yes, let's talk about Hilo.
Okay. All right, so Hilo, where the with the drive up waterfalls, the town with the drive up waterfalls, the town
More
where
tropical, more rain.
yes, where you're gonna find more rain than the Puna district. Hilo, by the way, is all lava zone 3. So you won't find any of that like super risky, property there. So South Hilo, there were, let's see, 24 single family homes that sold in the last month. So that is the data that we are going to be going off of for our stats. So just keep in mind this little snapshot here. And the average days on market is actually lower than Puna. It's 63 days on market with our median sales price for the month of May being $510,000. So you can see it's more expensive than the Puna district. I guess, again, the lava zones are the main influencing factor for that. And the median price for the month before was 538,000. So it is down a bit from the month before. And a year ago, it was 492,000. So up from a year ago. I feel like Hilo always has like a little bit of weird stats like that where we're like down and up and down and up. But if you're following the basic trend, so we're in the 500,000s for a median price. Again, a lot less sales than we see in the Puna district. And there's just like less inventory, less turnover in Hilo. The list to sales price was 93, almost 94, 93.97. That's basically 94% list to sales price for those homes. So they on average are going a little bit under list. And we already talked about days on market being 63, which is what we've kind of been seeing for a while. The month before it was 61, a year ago it was 58. So Hilo's been kind of staying at that pace, definitely for quite a while. And not that many condos. We don't usually talk that much on our East Hawaii market update, like I'm assuming you do in West Hawaii, about condos and raw land, but I have been getting some questions about them lately, so I'll touch on them just very briefly. We don't have that many condos. The ones that we do have are going to be in the South Hilo district. The price point is a lot lower than the condos you will find on the Kona side. We do have some that are still leasehold, which I know on the Kona side as well. But for those of you who are curious, just because I've been getting more questions about them, the median price for the last full month of sales, which included 4 condos, was $252,000, believe it or not. So pretty low. Do you know what a ballpark of your median price for a condo in West Hawaii is?
Closer to 585,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for about half the price in the Hilo district, can you get that?
Okay, I'm going to say something about that. There's a reason why that's the case too, is that investors are buying condos on our side to use for short-term vacation rentals, which they can turn over all day long with the tourism that happens in West Hawaii, where that is not the case in Hilo, where most people actually live in those condos full time. They're not being used as STVR. So you don't have investors driving up the prices to use them for short-term vacation rentals. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, there's not like a big market to it because exactly, they're not very often, there's not as much tourism on this side of the island, so you don't have those. Although there is some zoning in Hilo that does allow for those rentals, but some of those buildings in that zoning, their HOAs don't allow. So it's like a little bit of this like conflicting thing. Yeah, and a lot of people who tend to move to East Hawaii, it's a single family homes market. They're looking for single family homes with a yard, and you can go not that far outside of Hilo, as you guys have just heard on this update, and get a lot more for your money than even in Hilo, and a lot more for your money than anywhere else, pretty much in the state of Hawaii for the most part. In the Puna districts, the fact that you can get a single family home for in the 300,000 is pretty significant.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't see that many condos, and in fact, a lot of West Hawaii buyers who start out, looking at condos and then realize, oh, East Hawaii is actually pretty beautiful, and I can get a pretty nice house.
Yeah.
For that price without that huge monthly,
the
condo fees on the HOA. Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I think again, like this is classic that, it's and if people are watching this for the first time, like I realize now that some people have condos basically for the first time, and they're just still not quite sure how this whole thing is working. That West Hawaii is dry and hot. East Hawaii is wet and tropical and jungly, and people are either led to one or the other usually.
Yeah.
So that's how it goes. And so people who like to garden and who like a little bit of rain and like being cool and like more of a down home community feeling will edge towards East Hawaii. Whereas people who are more transient and maybe coming from like, hotter West Coast states and love sunsets and Mai Tais and being next to that whole like tourist experience, like West Hawaii. So, so saying like, oh, well, I've seen some people go, oh, it's so less expensive to live in East Hawaii, but I really want the sunsets and the hot beaches. And I'm like, you don't get both.
Yeah, you don't get both. And Julie is really, really like hitting the nail on the head there. Like most people really are more of a West Hawaii kind of person or an East Hawaii kind of person. I would say like truly there's not that many people, like once you find which side is your vibe, like it really, really is. I feel like I am rare in that I really like both sides of the island. I just happen to work and primarily and live in the east side of the island. That's where I ended up. I do love both sides of the island, but I think that's rare. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I would only, I love Hilo. Even Hilo and Puna a little bit. There's people who are just Hilo, only Hilo. I don't want to go down to Puna. want to be up in Hilo. Like I'd maybe go to Waimea, but they like Hilo. But I definitely see that for East and West Hawaii. I mean, it is a different lifestyle, a different climate, different price
Everything.
points,
It
different
is.
opportunities. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny though, I've met people who lived in Hilo. Literally, this is insane. Who lived here their entire lives and maybe have gone to Kona twice.
Yeah.
And they really hate Kona.
Yeah.
I was at the Kau Coffee Festival last weekend, and the split between Kau, right? You're kind of like in between the two things. And I did talk to some people from Hilo, and they basically said they never ever go to West Hawaii.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
I travel all over the island. I like traveling. I like to go and see. I like all of it, right? Just see different things and do different things. And there are people literally who just say, you know what, I like my city and I'm sticking in it. And the forest where I'm going to go is Kau. And so
Yeah.
I think people sometimes too come to this island to think it looks like Maui, where you can just drive it around it in a few hours, and it all kind of looks the same in some level. But yeah, you guys, seriously, it's as big as the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, you got to come out and you got to do a scouting trip. Highly recommend that if you can, if you haven't spent any time on the island or a significant amount of time on the island.
Mhm.
And if you're unsure and your budget kind of allows for different options, maybe do like a week on each side and maybe do it not at a resort but in a residential neighborhood that you might want to live in and really get a feel and drive around and go to like the local spots and see what your life would be like. And I guarantee you, if you can swing a 2-week trip where you do a week on each side, like you will know, like you'll just know
In fact, it's something
probably
like,
which side.
yeah, I have people actually coming this summer who are going to do that because they really want to make the right decision for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think people say, well, that's expensive. Well, it's more expensive to buy a house than to hate your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There are people, and I've had clients who have bought in different areas, and I've said, this is pretty remote. This range this much here. Oh, no, no, no. We know, we like it. And then, a year later, okay, actually, no, we want to live in Kona. We realized, you know, and they sell their house a year later because they got it wrong. And
yeah,
maybe renting for a little bit or doing more scouting can help you avoid that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but fortunately for the clients I've had do that, they've timed the market right where they still made money and we're still able to do
yeah.
that. But that might not always be the case. There is no guarantees. Real estate can be kind of a long game investment, but I am seeing a lot of people who are catching on to the fact that you can still buy an affordable house on the Big Island, and that's probably not going to be the case for that much longer. And so that's why I love working in East Hawaii, because that's what I'm helping people do. Get in while there is still some affordable housing in this state, and even if they're not, going to live in it full time now, like helping them get something in place while it is affordable, which I know is a
Right.
subjective term.
And so, a question is, can you touch on the rental market for East Side?
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So I don't, just a disclosure to everybody, I don't like professionally work with rentals. So I don't see it like day in and day out. However, I do work in real estate where there are tenants. I do have a lot of clients who have rented. I have a lot of colleagues and friends who have rental and investment properties. So that is my context for this. But it can be hard. It can be challenging to find a good rental. And rental prices are they're like pretty high. I would for a lot of people, if you can afford a mortgage, I know when I was buying my house it made a lot more sense to pay a mortgage than a rental place. Honestly, the biggest challenge I see for people who are looking to rent is finding a place. Like if you don't know a lot of people here, because there's not very many like realtors, for example, who work with rentals. There's not a lot of property management companies and stuff over here. There's a lot of like fraud and stuff on the internet with like rental listings. So sometimes just like finding a place can be kind of hard. Finding something that's pet friendly is people's biggest struggle, to find something in their budget that's pet friendly. And a lot of people in the East Hawaii market are looking for more like long-term rentals. So if you're looking kind of for like a shorter term, 3 months or something like that, that can be a little bit harder to come by. But that being said, you can find them. And that is something, again, that I don't do professionally, but they can be a little bit challenging because we are, it is kind of a housing crisis on the island. And if something is like an affordable rental, that's usually in pretty high demand and will go pretty quick.
And so he said he found a short term for 3 months, moving in October to work with East Hawaii Medical Group as rural provider. Oh, fantastic!
Ah, that
Also,
is great.
the Furnish Finder, we
Yes.
have our cottage on Furnish Finder, and we try and help, medical providers, nurses and things like that, because Furnish Finder kind of like focuses on that. And sometimes people will rent to not just medical people. They'll just say, "Hey, I can't find a medical person who fits in this time frame. I'll take somebody else between 3 and 6 months." So it's a tip for you guys. It really works really well next to closer to. I think you have to be within a half an hour of a hospital for a lot of these things. But if
Hmm.
you're a medical group in a rural facility, then maybe they're not going to make you have to drive, within 35 minutes of a hospital. So Furnish Finder has been great. Okay, there you go. So that's where he found it. Okay. So
Yeah. So that's a hot tip for everybody. Try that. Again, don't send anybody just money. I see so
yes,
many
don't
people
do
losing
that.
money in Hawaii for paying for things up front, or just like, sending money before, that there's a lot of fraud.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just be really, really careful if you find it. And the best thing you can do is like find it through other people that who are
Yeah.
vetted, I
Yeah,
think.
and also we have a friend, Tammy Pierce, who has a company called Hawaii Relocation Services, and she's done this before. She actually drives over to the house and she makes sure that it actually is rented, not owned by somebody who doesn't realize their house is being used as a fraud experience for rentals. So I can, if I can leave her information down below in the comments below, so you guys will have like a person who actually she's from the 365 world, but she will actually drive somewhere or do something for you as your own little personal feat, to check this stuff out so you guys don't feel like you don't have anybody. So, it's an opportunity to, have somebody actually check and make sure that you're not getting scammed.
Yeah, she is a great Hawaii relocation concierge is a great resource for people in East Hawaii. So a lot of my clients have used Tammy and her husband Dave, and they will do like a lot of different things because there's so many logistics when you relocate, as Julie and I both know from our past experiences. And a big reason why Eric and Julie like created 365 Hawaii was to kind of be the resource that they didn't have. Right, when they
Yeah.
were moving here. And there's a lot of logistics. So having somebody who is like vetted and trustworthy, who can kind of, you can say, hey, like, I'm having a car shipped on this day and I'm not going to be there. Is there someone who can pick up my car and store it? Or maybe go do a property check, or go meet the Spectrum person so they can set up my Wi-Fi because I'm not going to be home, or receive packages for a month. Things like that.
Yeah.
She's a great resource for
Yeah.
all those kinds of
Your
needs.
your
So
your 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 person on the island. Yeah, and they've like, then what's kind of cool too, if for people who are watching this video too, when you're moving to a new part of the island and you don't know anybody, if you join the Hilo newbies group, that's a good way to at least get to know people before you move here. And Tammy helps run that. And again, you get a chance to ask all these questions of what it's like to live there. And that's always nice, input, like where can I entertain my 12-year-old? Where the school's like, how far is it from Ko to, Hilo in terms of traffic, and where can I find a job, and, wherever. So that's an opportunity for you guys to like actually like, reach into people who actually live in the community. But also you guys can also, ask these crazy questions that, we can't always answer. Like, is there a PO box actually available for me in this neighborhood? Because that's a problem.
yes. Yeah, she's absolutely right. There's a lot of things about life here that if you're relocating that you aren't going to be used to in East Hawaii. For example, a lot of the neighborhoods don't get mail delivered to the house. And you might be able to get on a waiting list for a community cluster mailbox, but that might be too long. So you might need to get on a waiting list for a PO box, but you can get FedEx here. It's like, it's a lot of, it's a learning curve for a lot of people. So yes, I love reading the comments. Somebody said the 365 Hawaii groups have been so helpful. I think there is so much value, not just in getting the opinions of all the different agents that work in the different parts of the island, but crowdsourcing also from other people who have gone through the experience or are going through the experience, or in the planning stages like you might be too. And that's something that is really, really special about 365 Hawaii, that Eric and Julia have fostered a community filled with resources and other people who are willing to give you, their knowledge and opinions too.
Yeah, yeah. The crowdsourcing has been valuable because, like, even like, I started those, I don't know, 10 years ago. And people who even live here now, they love feeding back into the group and helping other people behind them. So, it's like, oh, what vet do I use? What doctor should I set myself up? But what, insurance company should I use? So, yeah. So if you guys are watching this and you really want to, like, tap into really some good people who, give advice, the 365 Hilo group. And I have my 365 Kona newbies group too. So,
Yeah.
okay, that's good. We haven't talked about that either. Pools, newbies group. So, okay, so what else is going on? It's June. What's happening in East Hawaii? Is there anything coming
So
up?
it's June, so we have been having warmer weather, and there's not a lot of like big events probably until like 4th of July, which not surprisingly isn't like as big as like in the Hawaiian Islands, although in Kona I know you got that 4th of July fireworks stuff that you've been working on. But it's 4th of July over on the east side of the island. I would say it's not like as big of a deal as like New Year's Eve it is over here. That there is a big fireworks show in Hilo, and actually I think the biggest is at Waimea. There's like a rodeo and all of this over 4th of July.
Oh, that's
But
cute.
there's not like any big events coming in June, but the water's a little bit warmer at the beach parks. That
Mhm.
the temperature outside is warmer. Kids are out of school, so there's like a lot of families out and about, which is really really fun to see. And you know, I'm just doing real estate like crazy because it's summer and people want to look at houses in the summer. So that's my main world right now. But yeah, I've really been enjoying our warmer weather that I feel like just kind of started to hit in June. Although that's me being very, very kind of dramatic because we don't have a huge difference in weather compared to probably a lot of the people watching this who are like, are you crazy? You were 70s and now you're 80s.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In fact, Eric and I just published we did a summer in West Hawaii. It was kind of like a pros and cons of summer in West Hawaii. And Eric ran the temperature stats and the ocean temperature stats and the rain stats and everything else. And the temperature range is like a joke. It's like 6 degrees, between like Christmas and 4th of July. But as we both know, when you live on an island, the slightest temperature is actually like we feel affected by it more. Like, when I go in the mainland, there's a 40-degree difference during the day. And here it's like, like 4. And we're like, oh, ooh, it's a little chilly. It's
Yeah.
72. Oh, it's getting warm. Oh, it's 75.
Yeah, we get a little bit dramatic in Hawaii because we're so spoiled by like pretty good year-round weather
Yeah.
that we're getting a little whiny when it gets like in the 60s in the morning because we're
It's
cold.
like, oh my gosh, we're freezing. And then if it gets above 87, oh Lord, it's like being in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But East Hawaii, I mean, it's really nice. The weather doesn't change like too much throughout the year. It's kind of like it's either wet season or dry season. And I know like the surf community, a lot of them only look at seasons based on like, it's like a high, the winter waves are better unless you're
Yeah.
not great at surfing like me, then the summer waves are where you want to be.
Yeah.
But it's not like too substantially different. But yeah, just like another beautiful, endless summer over here.
There you go. And even if it does rain, it's a warm rain, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, Hilo, Hawaii is a very, very rainy place, but it's also a very, very sunny place and very beautiful, beautiful part of the island. So you get a mix of all of it, and it's a beautiful time of year to come visit and scout for your
And
home
the people
home
are nice.
search.
Yes.
Oh
So,
yes.
okay, so we have thank you, Kennedy and the Porters for being part of this. Is there any more questions from you guys before we sign off? And this will go on YouTube. So people who are watching this later on YouTube, Amber obviously is your East Hawaii specialist for real estate. Obviously she's busy now, but you can call her and see if she'll take you on. And so, and then also if again, if you guys are looking for opportunities for, like, we have a free East Hawaii movie resource guide. And also you can get if you're watching this, I have my the Insider's Guide to Buying Real Estate on the Big Island of Hawaii, which is a PDF that I can provide to you guys free if you work with one of us. So join the 365 hawaiiliving.com Ohana, and we'll get you some free resource materials. So any other questions? That's it. So you guys will join us. Hopefully if you're watching this now, we're going to have an island-wide update next Thursday, the 20th. Are you
All
gonna be able
right.
to? Okay. That way you guys can, Amber will do kind of like a quicker, like, we're not gonna be talking about pools in East Hawaii, but, if anything happens in terms of like, the market changing, well, you'll know about it. But also you'll get a chance to learn more about what's happening, in the Waikoloa area, West Hawaii and South Hawaii. If you're not sure where you want to live, you'll get a kind of a feeling from that, from the realtors that are part of that. So, with that, I guess we'll say aloha and, take care of your puppy.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you guys in the next one. Aloha.
Aloha.